I guess I'd like to start by saying Laurel Huffman and Gerald Fry have requested that my wife Phyllis Van Amberg and I come and speak at the American Herbivorous Society's November school. And Laurel requested that we put up some information on YouTube link so that people could understand what we're going to talk about the day that we talk at the school. So we're not really prepared for this. We don't do videos every day, but informally we thought we should start at the beginning, and that's why we're taking a picture of this guy right here. Here's a pre-potent American milk Devon bull who happens to be interested in a heifer that's obvious right now. And he was a starting point for us in our transition to grass. So this is a guy that Linear Measures has just come through a drought and bred 80, 90 cows. So that's the beginning of our transition to a grass-based, low-input herd. So what we'd like to talk about when we come out in November is management to protect your genome. In other words, we're all about genetics in the Rhodokawa world, in the Devon world, in the milk Devon world. But what Phyllis and I see is that a lot of the management decisions we're making, frankly, are impacting on our genetics. So that's the first thing we want to cover is how to protect your genome through good farm management, good grass management, good feed production, all of these type of things. Then we can get into more of the finer parts of epigenetics, your nutrigenetics, understanding how your feedstuffs affect your young stock, and how that young stock is essentially your template for moving to your desired herd. In addition to that, I think what we'd also like to cover is some of the breeding choices that we've made on the dairy side, which have taught us, frankly, coming from the beef world like Phyllis and I did, we made a lot of decisions that on how to manage this dairy herd that were based on beef production. And what we've learned from the other side is because the dairy industry is so fraught with data, milk tests, you learn butter fats, you learn milk quantity, you learn protein levels, you learn milk urea nitrogen levels, blood urea nitrogen levels. You learn all this by testing the milk. And what that does is it affects your decisions as far as selection. So we'd like to talk to you folks about that, and especially all of this is under the umbrella of grass production. In other words, we're not going to talk about it from a grain feeding perspective. We're going to talk about it from a grass perspective.
I think that's a very good point. Point out that a lot of the information that we were able to gather by being a practicing commercial dairy and comparing that to some things that we were a little bit more familiar with in management intensive grazing with the beef cows, and having a foot in both worlds really helped us to put a lot of information together, and is helping us to improve both of those herds. But it brought a new perspective to the dairy management side of both our breeding and our management of the herd, and I think that it has allowed us to really bring pieces together to make a very profitable operation for us.
Right.
And it was sort of, we made some guesses, but they were educated Rex to breed our dairy herd to? Well, Rex, right off the bat, you said he was a very prepotent bull. Well, so what does that mean? What that means is that he has a very concentrated genetic background. There's not a lot of different families, not a lot of different herds that contributed to his genetic makeup. He's very predictable. His daughters are easily spotted throughout the herd. They all look the same. That's really important. Obviously, you want all of those characteristics that he stamps to be positive characteristics. You don't want any surprises, and you don't want any structural or other defects. So he was able to bring that to the dairy herd. And one of the important things that he brought, which is not necessarily unique to him, but he brought a level of body condition. I think that it's very popular in the dairy world to combine the Jersey and the Holstein in order to get a level of hardiness, but our particular situation in upstate New York, where the winters are very cold, we desired a little bit more body condition. He was able to bring that on. I think that you could probably find that in other bulls, but what you might not be able to find is the genetic consistency that he can bring.
No, it's not all about Rex. I mean, we have sons of Rex now alive, and they will be actively breeding heifers in this herd this spring. So it's not just about him. I think more importantly, it's about the management, frankly.
Well, certainly the management is absolutely a critical piece, because in any breeding operation, which if you're in cattle, you're in breeding, and if you're going to improve your herd, then first and foremost you better know what you're dealing with. And if you don't have full genetic expression, then you're not going to know what you're dealing with. And in order to get full genetic expression, you need to give your cows optimal management. You need to raise healthy calves. You need to provide good nutrition, lots of minerals, lots of good feedstuffs. If you're going to compromise their health in any way, then you're not going to know exactly what your genetic, what genetics you're dealing with.
Right, which brings us to a whole nother management technique that we do. I mean, all these dairy heifers are raised to 10 months on their mother, utilizing Gerald's wisdom. And at 10 months, these heifers, we found that these heifers are just absolutely astounding. They're huge. They're essentially ready to be put in their own group for a very short period of time. And then at 15 months, they're ready to breed. And why are they ready at 15 months instead of 2 years? Because the butterfat levels in this herd now have gotten to the point where if we wait till they're 2, they can, frankly, they can get too fat. So that's another whole management process that we do, and we'd like to talk to you about that. We have, at this point, I think we have 18 mothers and 16 mothers and 17 heifer calves in a group over the hill here, and that is definitely something that over the last 4 years has proved to be financially successful for us. It's taking away all calf feeding labor, taking away all the bottles, taking away any death loss related to calves, and
or illness,
or any illness, frankly, and letting the mothers handle those calves until they're ready to be weaned, and then shortly thereafter bred. So that window gets smaller, and there's a huge payback there, because that window is so small because these heifers are big when they're weaned. And when you're breeding by weight instead of age, I say 15 months, but it's 15 months on average, but really they're at the weight they need to be bred, and that's the key. So, there's another thing that fits in, and really what we want to do is just share the story and the decisions that we've made, some of them extremely financially risky, and some of them have proved to be really productive decisions. We've made mistakes as well. We want to share those with you. And then we want to get feedback. about what you're doing with your herd, and we want to talk about milk quality as it relates to beef production, because we've got a lot of information to share. And I also want to talk about the Herbitorous Registry, because I think we have a huge opportunity to be the best and the most revered registry. And that's because we can choose animals not based on pedigree, but based on productivity. And one of the mistakes I see being made in all of the purebred books is that just because a cow is a purebred and she's bred to a purebred bull and she has a heifer, that heifer gets registered.
Or a bull.
Or a bull, that bull gets registered. And I take issue with that. I think if we don't have breed standards that are extremely high, all these registries are going to end up where the Holstein registry is, which is fraught with health issues and very short life spans in these cows. Now, super high productivity, yes, but at the expense of everything else.